call this meeting to order at 12:03 p.m. May all members present state their name for the record.
Alexandra Dale.
Phoenix Cumstone.
Austin Burton.
Yoel Katz.
Jacob Eisenberg. Hughes Putnam.
Andrew Larson.
And Abigail Millman presiding as chair. May any members of the public please state their name for the record.
Josh Rayacek.
Please keep in mind that these meetings may be visually or audio recorded. Okay, first up we have Angelina Del Toro's application. I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Do you have time? Yeah. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to review.
I was on foot.
They sell like the
Like restaurant. There's around the world, which he hasn't told me what's up right now. He's pretty one kimchi fries. Then there's the Wow Wow, like the Bao Bao store. Pretty good. Indian place. Then the Wow Sushi. Both places there. Right now. What's different from the second? Some of them will be like they all ate, right? This is KFC. That's why KFC is actually they're owned by over there.
Are we done reviewing? Okay. I now move into 2 minutes of debate. You may start now.
I really liked your ideas of like the office hours and the judicial roundtables. I think that should be a great fit. I think her ideas are very unique and beneficial.
I also like her ideas. I particularly like the idea of the end of the year report. The Supreme Court's kind of like separate from a lot of the other parts of student government in a lot of ways. There's less interaction than there might be between the legislative and executive branch. So I think that would be really helpful to kind of bring us all together, keep everybody in the loop, so that we can all work together as best possible.
I think that usually, like with the Supreme Court or whatever, like real governments want to keep it as separate as possible from other like branches of the government, so that they're as impartial. But here it's different because, like, obviously these election violations and other things that are happening on the ground. It'd be very nice to have like a very clear and consistent, like updated metric of what is viable and not viable. And I think this person provides it very well. I think the resume is obviously very stacked. They're very qualified for this position. But it was kind of funny. It was like honorable this, honorable that, and then like a golf club. But still, like it's a very very cool set of positions. So I definitely think this person is qualified.
Alright, seeing as there's no more debate, is there any motions at this time?
I move to recommend Angelina Del Toro for the Supreme Court. Is that it?
Supreme Court.
By unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve Angelina Del Toro for the position of Supreme Court Justice by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We now move on to the ASOE nominations, starting with Achilles Abbas. If you guys want to also look up when you're done, just so I know to move on.
Actually, I can pull that up.
Wow, Taylor Dell, man, that's a throwback. Every 7 months now. Taylor Dell is coming. He's so good. He was so good to be back. It was, I like him in 5th grade. I don't know what. Taylor Dell is still fun.
Okay, I now now move us into 2 minutes of debate. If there's any debate starting now.
This person's pretty young. They don't have a ton of experience. I don't think that's necessary for ASOEs. Obviously, they're part of a team helping that. But looking through their questions and answers, that became more important for me. And they do give, I think, fantastic answers and thought through a lot of like their ideas. And they're like seemed like they understand like what they would want the position to be and how to help people understand the election. So I think that kind of overcorrects for any youngness and not experience they have in certain spheres. So I like them as a candidate. I think they'd be great for the team.
I agree with what Austin was saying. I think that like the ASOE squad needs to be like a variety of perspectives in supporting the SOE. This person is obviously very good with numbers, all of their stuff with accounting, and all their certifications with Excel and other platforms. I think it'd be a unique perspective of use to the SOE.
Okay, seeing as there is no more debate, are there any motions at this time?
I move to nominate Achilas Abbas as the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections.
There's been a motion to recommend Achilles Abbas to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move on to Aiden Berry. You guys can have a minute to review starting now. Okay, if you guys are done reviewing, we may now move into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
Yeah, I like their resume. I think they have a history of establishing it. They talked about how in high school they established a student government at their own school. They ran elections, and so they have experience on that front at a smaller scale. And I think that it's sort of a natural progression that they can move up as an ASOE and sort of begin to work in a similar aspect here on campus. And I like their ideas. They want to again working on like improving transparency, engagement, and turnout, which I think are always important when you're doing ASOE. I think that should, other than a fair election, I think their main priority should be making sure that everybody understands that there's an election, what the rules are, and that they're being enforced fairly.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I would now move into motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to recommend Aiden Berry to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Aiden Berry to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into Gavin Calleja. You guys can have a minute to review. Okay, if you guys have had enough time to review, I now move into 2 minutes of debate and starting now.
This person is a freshman, which is not a bad thing. Our last few candidates have been. They don't have much experience when it comes to student government and the election process. So it would be a steep learning curve for them. Some of the ideas are obviously things that would be impossible for an ASOE to nominate, such as implementing ranked choice voting. That's a much longer conversation to have. I do think they are focused on the right things of trying to improve what students know, see what students want to see from student government, and improving sort of that open-mindedness from elections. And again, ASOEs, they're not performing by themselves, performing part of a team under the SOE themselves. So while this person, if they were in a standalone role, I don't think would be excellent for that, I think as an ASOE and giving that training, I think they would still be a very valuable member of the team.
Seeing as there is no more debate, I now move into motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to recommend Gavin Kayeha for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Gavin Kayeha to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move on to Camden Cruz. You guys can have a minute to review.
It ended up being 3 seniors by 30. All the straight sophomore. All sophomore drops. It was me, my friend, the guy who was part of the group. Every single test, I got like 99. My friend got like 80, 70. And the third guy got 95 on page sheet. Like, literally doing this. And this press like a 7-year-old dude. Does no. What way you was? It's like, don't tell your phone cheating. Oh, just my friend. Okay. Hook is big. That's part of it. You guys like, you guys cool. Was good. Something.
Okay, I now move into 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
And our sub was my friend's mom.
I think they seem to be more than qualified based on their based on their resume and the experience that they have within SG and also in other opportunities that they pursued. I think their ideas also showed they have a pretty good understanding of what the role is going to entail. I think they seem to understand where their role is as ASOE in terms of increasing engagement, ensuring fairness. So I think that they seem more than qualified for this position.
I agree. I think they have like a unique set of skills as far as like publicization opportunities, which I know a lot of the other ASOEs were talking about looking for ways to make the elections more accessible to the public. I think this person has like a unique set of experiences working for the Second Lady or working for KD in their public relations outreach. So I think that this could be like a specific use for this person on the ASOE team.
Thanks. Seeing as there's no more debate, I now move into motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to recommend Camden Cruz for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Camden Cruz for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move on to Alice Gastiavaro. You guys can have a minute to review.
This is all one teacher. One teacher has a and one of our teachers, the replacement one, was the husband of a teacher. He only worked out half the class because used to be he just from Walmart and runs the largest rice import to South American nation. So he would have to like leave every little to work back home. Literally, it's like a multi-billion-dollar rice import. He liked teaching, and he liked teaching Spanish.
Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
I actually know Alice Castillo like personally. She was in one of my classes. She also was in MLP with me. At the very least, I know her resume might not be as beefy as some of the other people we've seen apply, but I do know that she's a very applied person and that she's very applied in her classes, independent of whether she's been involved on campus or not. She is someone who's very dedicated and someone who's very well connected within HSA, within multicultural organizations. So I think that this is a unique and interesting perspective to have on the ASOE team with someone who I know is applied and will do the job correctly.
Building off of that, just looking at some of the responses, very similar themes to a lot of other people with inclusivity, education, and transparency with the feedback post-election. I feel like they're prepared and understand what the role will be as ASOE.
Okay, See as there's no more debate, I now move into motions. Are there any motions?
I move to recommend Alice Garcia-Wuro for Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve Alice Garcia-Buro for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Avery Hirschman. You guys can have 1 minute to Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
And she's also advocating for a lot of the ideas that other people are, like transparency in education, like advertisement. So I think that she would also be another good fit and can add additional help in those areas to Lexi.
Seeing as there is no more debate, I now move into motions. Are there any motions?
I motion to recommend Avery Hirschman for ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Avery Hirschman for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion passes. We now move into reviewing Emma Hussey.
The best part is his own mom was the
I now move into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I think she's more than qualified. She's already done this position. I believe it was last fall, or she's already started performing the position. I think her platform is in alignment with a lot of the other people that we've reviewed so far in terms of increasing transparency, with the caveat that she wanted to do like a demographic breakdown of voter results, which I'm not really sure what the feasibility of that is, but it's still, I think she's on the right track. I think she wants to increase transparency, and I think she'd be a great addition to the team.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that demographic breakdown makes sense, but I do really particularly like the idea of an online forum or like direct Q&A. I think anything that increases accessibility to the actual candidates and platform points is particularly important, because I feel like with the few people who do vote, they largely do not vote off of platform but off of party reputation. So I think it is really important to have unique platform points out there.
I guess the only possible breakdown that would be interesting to see from an ASOE perspective is possibly first-time voter versus non, just to see really the outreach and possibly new like parts of campus that people are choosing to vote on. But I know Emma personally. I know she'll do a great job, and seeing her previous experiences, no doubt.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I now move us into motions.
I move to recommend Emma Hussey for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Emma Hussey to ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Gabriela Jimenez. We have 1 minute to review starting now.
Yeah, next up, Pat. Order popular
us into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I think obviously this person has an incredibly stacked resume, particularly for the legislative process. In the bottom, you'll see she has like a U.S. President's Award for like service, which is awesome. She has like a lot of involvements. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Valencia is a community college next to UCF, so she's clearly been there and then transferred in. I think she has a unique perspective as far as understanding UCF or community college student government as well as here student government. And I think that she would be a great addition, of course, to our ASOE team.
Seeing as there's no more debate, I now move into motions. Are there any other motions?
I move to recommend Gabriela Jimenez for ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Gabriela Jimenez to ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into the review of Morgan Kelly. You may have 1 minute to review starting now. Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
Morgan, in her answers and resume, it's pretty clear that she, in her experience previously as ASOE, she kind of knows what's going on, especially 2 semesters serving as it, so I feel like this is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, from her resume and from her past experiences, we know she has the capability of doing this and has done this. I really wish we had longer answers for the question and answers. They are really like 1 or 2 sentences, and I wish we had more depth and more like fresh ideas and things like that. And so that is a little lacking, but she makes up for it in the experience. So.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for motions. Are there any motions?
I move to recommend Morgan Kelly to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Morgan Kelly to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion passes. We now move into reviewing Daniel Murphy. Okay, I now open the floor for 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I mean, this is very clearly someone who's very inexperienced with college involvement or things beyond, maybe their high school clubs. They seem well-intentioned. They obviously know that generally the issue with elections is accessibility, so I do think that they get credit in that regard. I think that their inexperience with maybe resumes or curriculum just shows a lack of someone with them who's like telling them, this is how this should be, this is how this should be, and I don't think it's something we should necessarily judge them for. Mostly I like their responses, so I think this is a decent candidate.
Yeah, they did screenshot their Common App. That was a little funny. The answers are fine. They're very similar to everyone else's, so nothing stand out in my opinion. I understand why we would nominate them.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for motions. Are there any motions this time?
I move to recommend Daniel Murphy to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Daniel Murphy to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Suthi Muralhadara. 1 minute to review starting now. We now move into 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
I think a lot of their experiences could definitely be helpful in this role, and they also are trying to advocate for the same ideas as a lot of people, so I think they would also fit into the group of other ASOEs that we recommended.
Seeing as there's no further debate, is there any motion?
You got it.
I move to recommend Stuti Malidara to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve Suthi Muralhadara to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Max Ramirez. We now move into 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
This is another person where they obviously don't have a ton of experience as far as student government. Their resume does show that they have kind of the same thoughts as a lot of other people in there. I thought it was interesting that they put the new pre-calc on there. I thought that was really cool. But as far as their answers and stuff, they're someone who's definitely they might not know the details of how the position works. They know that they will work under the supervisor elections and do what they need, and they really want to, help the election process. So I think they're still on the right track, and would make a good person with that training.
Yeah, after reading their responses, they seem very eager to get to work, how they want to interview the supervisor of elections to kind of get to know what they need to do, kind of their role if they were to get ASOEs. So they seem very motivated and interested. So that's good. That kind of that determination will kind of make up for lack of experience, in my opinion.
I agree that ASOE is generally an entry-level position, so we are scrutinizing these resumes and all these things, but this is something where if you are passionate about it, it's a good start, And I'm now deciding whether I like the Common App screenshot more or not. But this is definitely well-intentioned, and I think they'll be a good fit.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to recommend Max Ramirez to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Max Ramirez to ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move on to reviewing McKenna Romero. I know. I If I could start this debate out, I know McKenna personally. She was an ASOE for the past 2 semesters. I know that she's done an amazing job. Being an ASOE, I know that her answers are a little bit short, but I don't think that they're lacking.
Was someone talking? Sorry. I can't tell if someone else is talking.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was just going to say that I really like your idea to train the other ASOEs. I think looking at some of these other ASOE applications, I think it's important that we have more in-depth training, maybe particularly like a resume workshop for these ASOEs, so I think it's a good idea.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for motions. Are there any motions?
I move to recommend McKenna Romero for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend McKenna Romero for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion passes. We now move into reviewing Nida Safavi. Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of debate.
I wish the answers were a little more robust, particularly considering that the resume is a bit lacking compared to some of our other candidates. However, I'm going to echo the sentiment that we've heard many times today that this is an entry-level position, a great opportunity for learning how to get involved in student government, and so I don't think that should be a burden to recommending this candidate.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for any motions.
I move to recommend Nida Safavi for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Nida Safavi to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Kelsey Silverbush. I now move into 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
And this is another candidate and who's already has experience in the role of ASOE. Their platforms sort of in alignment with a lot of the other platforms in terms of increasing outreach and transparency. And I think those are all important traits that when it comes to considering who we're going to recommend. So I think it should be a great candidate to return to the position.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for motions. Are there any motions?
Move to recommend Kelsey Silverbush for the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Kelsey Silverbush to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Anil Sokolov. Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of debate.
I think this person is like a particularly good candidate. They have a background in software, which I think is particularly needed given past struggles that we've had with the election process. A lot to navigate, so I think having more tech people to support it is a great idea. They have particularly good ideas, and I think they have a normal resume, which is more than we can say about a lot of these candidates. So once again, I think this is a great candidate. I'd definitely recommend it.
Yeah, very well rounded and would help add to the team a lot of skills and technical background.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for any motions.
I move to recommend Mia Sagalov for the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Mia Sokolov to the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing Sujan Van Hoyge. You may start reviewing now. I now open the floor to 2 minutes of debate, starting now.
I like the experience this candidate has with leadership experience within student government high school. Obviously they're new to college, but I feel that they do have a resume that indicates that they've been involved in the past, and I think that makes it like that is applicable to getting involved in student government at the University of Florida.
Yeah, the good thing to see, even with their lack of experience, the answer that they provide for their ideas is very similar to every other candidate we recommended, and it shows that they kind of understand the role that they're getting into.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I open the floor for any motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I motion to recommend Sujan Van Hoyge to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Sujan Van Hoyge to the position of ASOE by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move on to reviewing Wilson Roberts for the position of Elections Commission. You guys can have 1 minute to review starting now.
Yeah, that is. It's like Delmarva or something. Yeah, Delmarva.
Okay, I now move into 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I know Wilson very well. I'll start by saying he is incredibly qualified by his resume and really understands the ins and outs of the legislative branch of student government and the executive branch. So I feel like him starting out in 1L at UF, it totally makes sense that he'd want to get involved in the judicial branch. I would have loved to see a little bit more in his responses, but his resume is incredibly accomplished for any UF undergrad. So, yeah.
I agree with Jacob. I want to add on to I don't think you need new ideas to be on the Supreme Court. I think the particular purpose of the Supreme Court is to not have any new ideas, but rather to strictly interpret the UF Constitution, and thus I don't think that they necessarily need anything new, but rather that the experience.
This is for the Elections Commission.
Oh. Well, it works the same way. They're also just reviewing the standards, the bylaws. So I think it's a good idea.
I wish the answers were a little bit longer. I'm also a little bit concerned because the Election Commission is supposed to be a nonpartisan. We're not supposed to be representative or have any affiliations with the political party for the previous 2 election cycles. Being his experience within actual student government is a bit separate, with the majority party leader not being for a couple of years. But his work as University of Florida student government for the chief of staff does bring up some concerns about, are we following the rule to the letter, or what was it was intended to mean? So I do have some concerns there on that.
I wanted to touch on that. I did review this candidate earlier because I had the same concerns. Wilson Roberts did not participate in the political campaign of that cycle and was simply serving as the chief of staff to the student body president, which should not be an inherently political position. So seeing as they haven't taken part in a political campaign in the past 2 election cycles, that does make them qualify for the position, or does not exclude them from being able to take part in the position.
Okay, so even during previous election cycles, even if they weren't running as a candidate, they weren't involved in volunteering or doing any work for that candidate.
This candidate was not involved in the election cycle.
Okay.
For the position. Okay. We now open the floor for any motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I motion to recommend Wilson Roberts for the position of Elections Commission by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve Wilson Roberts to the Election Commission by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing SSB 2025-1175. Seeing as there is an author present, you may now have 5 minutes of presentation time starting now.
Awesome. So yeah, this is really just updating the codes to the kind of what we use now. So essentially, I don't know what we're gonna do in terms of like the next reapportionment. Obviously, I'm not on the committee. I'm not in charge of that. But essentially, this complies with our current system, but it also complies with our past system. So whatever thing we do, it's completely fine. So in 322.21, all on campus is defined basically as dorm areas on campus, and immediately after it defines off campus as anything not defined as on campus. So that could be districts, that could be our current model of off campus, whatever it is. I'm just updating it so that it fits our system and any future systems that we put in. Yeah, that's pretty much it with the rest of the time.
Okay, we now move into 5 minutes of question and answer starting now. Seeing as there's no questions, we now move into 5 minutes of debate starting now.
Yeah, I think this is a good change. As the author noted, the wording is a bit more broad, so it could be applied to a variety of different situations. It accurately describes our current model, and it would also accurately describe previous models with separate districts. So I think this wording is appropriate for both our situation and future situations and should therefore be adopted.
Yeah, this matches how the Constitution defines the classification of senators as on campus versus off campus. So I think this works perfect and matches that. So.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, we now move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
I would.
Okay, we now move into motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to pass SSB 2025-1175 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1175 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing SSB 2025-1176. Seeing as there's an author present, you may now have 5 minutes of presentation starting now.
So this and the next 2 bills are pretty much the same exact thing. I do believe you mentioned you had an amendment to one of them. That's perfectly fine. So for all 4 of these bills, I'm on R&E. I also spoke to Mia Felravo and had her review all of this. She was fine with all of this. When reviewing all the codes, I had absolutely no idea that it's possible to use standard posts. We have never done that. I've been on the committee for nearly a year at this point. I had no idea we could do this. The committee chair didn't even know we could do this. I don't even know if we collect addresses from our senators. I don't think so. So yeah, I'm just taking it out of the Constitution, save some trees by not sending letters, just through email. Thank you. I would the rest of the time.
Okay, we now move into 5 minutes of question and answer starting now.
I have a point of inquiry. Is there any chance we could hear all 3 of these as a block, given that they're doing the same thing?
Yes, but there is a change that we're going to make to this one.
Okay.
So we can hear the last 2 as a block. Okay, now moving into 5 minutes of debate starting now.
And the idea of getting a letter in the mail that I'm being removed from Senate for attendance to be extremely funny, but also inappropriate. So yes, this is a great change.
Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
I would. Thank you.
Okay, I now open the floor for any motions. Do I hear any motions at this time? Do I hear a motion to edit the sentence where it says the Rules and Ethics Chairperson shall send a letter by email to the Rules and Ethics Chairperson shall send an email?
So moved.
By unanimous consent.
When a personal inquiry, who do I say that you made that motion or the person?
Whoever said so moved. Okay, let me know when that change updates.
They just changed, I think.
Yeah, everything shifted, so I'm just changing that. It should be good. Yeah. Okay, any more motions at this time?
I move to pass SSB 2025-1176 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1176 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing SSB 2025-1177. There is an author present, and we begin 5 minutes of presentation starting now.
I waive my time.
Okay, 5 minutes of question and answer. Seeing none, we move into 5 minutes of debate.
I'm noticing this bill also has the same wording issue as the previous one. In, I believe, Section 8, it says send a letter by email. I would imagine we'll want to make similar changes as we did to the previous bill. But aside from that, again, we don't use the mail, so this is great.
Also, I want to know, it's not just getting rid of something old, but also if it takes as long as it usually takes to send something in the mail, and you end up in Senate for another month, that's probably counterproductive. So I do think this is an actually good change.
It's a good step towards modern times.
Modern times. Send it by horse and buggy.
Is there any further debate? I now move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
Yeah, it's completely fine. Kind of why I kept send a letter is because that's kind of what you're sending in the email. I completely understand if you just want to put by email or whatever, it's fine. It means the exact same thing.
And you could also just be shall notify by email.
Yeah.
So we could do the same wording as the last one, just for standardization purposes.
Okay, we now move into motions. Starting any motions.
I move to edit the sentence, the Rules and Ethics Chairperson shall send a letter by email to notify, to shall send an email to notify, by unanimous consent.
There has been a motion to amend some of the language in Section 8 to Rules and Ethics Chairperson shall send an email by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Are there any more motions at this time?
Oh wait.
Yeah, I just mixed that up. Can you turn your question?
It's back to being
Yeah,
on
it's good
mine.
now.
Okay.
I move to pass SSB 2025-1177 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1177 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We now move into reviewing SSB 2025-1178. Seeing as there is an author present, you may have 5 minutes of presentation starting now.
I waive.
Okay, we now move into 5 minutes of question and answer. Seeing none, we move into 5 minutes of debate. Seeing none, we move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
Thank you for reviewing my legislation. Yeah, I waive.
Okay, I now open the floor for any motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to pass SSB 2025-1178 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1178 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you guys for having a successful meeting and this meeting at 12:54 p.m.
Just